Adam Jones was one of the artists that worked here from, I believe, the years 1989 to about 92. And I met Adam through another friend named Rick Lazzarini, and Adam was an effects artist at the time and a sculptor, and had a really kind of fun and brilliant take on his sculpting and mold making techniques. And so he was here for Edward Scissorhands, Terminator 2, and the first Jurassic Park. During those years, I do remember that Adam was very interested in music, and I remember very distinctly him going through a phase where he was feeling as though he had the urge to create and form a band. And he would come in with little cassette tapes and go, "Listen to this, what do you think of this?" And so he would kind of pick our brains, or we would kind of like get responses to what we thought was rather kind of cool sounding. And then there was one period of time where he actually said, "Look, I want to go off and start this band, because what should I do? I mean, I don't want to leave here." I'm like, "What are you, crazy? What could be the worst thing that could happen? You could go and try to do it, and if it didn't work out, you've got this as a career to fall back on, but you have to take the opportunity or the moment. You have to try it. You have to try." And that's exactly what he did. And he got this thing going, and then we knew that we would go to like small little gigs around town. Like he would say, like, "I'm playing here and playing there," and they'd be like cramped little places. But you saw like the response from people, and I was like, I think this is gonna turn out well for Mr. Jones. So the connection I would still hear from Adam from time to time would be for techniques, or sometimes requesting artists' help to make the videos. And they were definitely, you could tell, absolute sort of works of passion, and completely, like, extremely ambitious. So in other words, doing stop motion, doing makeup effects, techniques for this or that. So he would, generally what would happen is if he had a technical problem, he would call me up and ask me what I thought could be accomplished, and I would try to help out in that way. But I would always find it extremely fascinating, because it was another facet. It was a different world, because I was stuck in feature films and television films or commercials, and that's its own thing, and it's very exciting in its own right. But to know that there was a group of artists that are really talented making their own thing, just like putting it together and making these fantastic films, and him actually directing them for the most part, I thought that was really great. So I would do whatever I could. And I know a lot of artists that were here, and some of them that are still here, would do little side projects to help complete things, sculpt models, or make armature or set pieces, or help do makeups and things like that. And there were other people outside of here that do similar work, like I think Chet Zar is an effects guy as well, and he kind of really helped. I know he helped Tool a lot,
My involvement in this project was through Adam Jones, and he called me to work on this video. We've been working together for 10 years now, maybe. It's back on Stinkfist, I think, was the first time we worked together. And I came in and just helped out doing a small effect, and then I headed up the makeup effects crews for the following, I think, 3 or 4 videos. It's been a long time, but I always enjoy working on these videos, enjoy working with Adam, because it's fun, it's creatively fulfilling, and I don't get that too much working on other productions, they usually suck. 90% of them, but the Tool videos are always great creative fun. Well, I met Adam at a makeup effects studio. We were working on something like 1991 maybe, Darkman or Swamp Thing or something, and we just hit it off right away. So we have similar tastes. I think there's kind of a makeup effects aesthetic in a way, like a geek factor. People that are fans of genre type movies and stuff, and it goes from bad to, I think, cool. And I think we both have the cool, the cool feel. At least we both agree on, what's cool and what kind of monsters are cool and stuff. But we both, I think, are interested in similar fine art as well, like surrealism and visionary psychedelic art. And we just hit it off really well together. And we even jammed a couple times before we formed Tool. And yeah, I kind of lost contact with him for years, and then we sort of, like I said before, hooked back up around Stinkfist. He called me, and then have been working together ever since. I don't know, we just have a similar aesthetic. Seems we get together and things click right away, which you don't get with a lot of directors or artists. I don't know, we just, artistically, it's kind of instantaneous. As soon as we sit down together, we both start getting really good ideas and bouncing them back and forth off each other. It's really fun. So yeah, in this video I did some character design, creature design, environment design, just general concept artwork.
I met Adam and Camilla at an art exhibition in Santa Monica back in 1999, and Adam was interested in my artwork, and I love the music of Tool, and Adam suggested the possibility of working together on the Lateralis art. And since it was so in alignment with the anatomical kind of approach that I have to the artwork, it was just a perfect, marriage of ideas.
The first video I started working on was Prison Sex, the second video off of the Undertow record. And I took on quite a bit of work, quite a bit of the art on that video, but I guess that's, 5 years passed after Undertow, when the release of Anima, and then I was still living in Seattle, and Adam asked me to come down and help produce the packaging for Anima, and the video. The first video was for Stinkfist, and I came down, and it took probably like 6 months to finish, but the progression and the ideas and the collaborative effort between this confederacy of artists that we assembled really kind of set a precedent for the videos to come, all the way up to Vicarious. Actually, we use a lot of the same team, a lot of the same people, and I share the producing with my partner, Robin Breen. Her strengths are my weaknesses, and vice versa.
Let's see, working with Adam, is always an amazing experience for me through the years. I've worked on the last 5 Tool videos, and starting around Stinkfist. And every single time he always says, you know, this time I want to take it further than the last one and just push it and do something amazing, and he really, really does. And I think that on this project in particular, it was, you know, creating a completely all CGI video was taking it way further than anything we've ever done together. You know, we don't have the luxury with this one of shooting live action, and even on stop motion of shooting several different takes, several different ideas or different camera angles. We really had to be locked in about the ideas and, you know, the cut, everything, which was a totally different process. But at the same time, it was interesting because he could take any ideas that he's had way further than he's been able to before, because in a CGI world, pretty much anything is possible, which is the great thing about it. And along with Alex Gray, that ended up being an incredible process. And I think also working with Alex Gray has been very exciting. He is kind of like has this childlike enthusiasm to be around, but extremely articulate, extremely artistic, and watching him make one of his paintings come alive and be able to go into one of his paintings was one of the most exciting things about this video. And, you know, you just wouldn't be able to do that without doing it CGI.
So I first met Adam several years ago on the Schism video. We were helping him out doing some visual effects for that, since those, you know, obviously those videos are mostly live action and or stop motion. And then since then, become friends with Adam, and we've worked on many of his videos in different print packaging and DVD packaging since then. And then last year, he came to us talking about he wanted to do something different, a fully CG video, which is, you know, a very ambitious project, especially since Tool songs are of the longer length. And it was just a cool thing. It was basically trying to figure out how do we take what was normally done, you know, what you couldn't do in stop motion or live action because of the type of way the characters are designed, and it's a different type of art, and, you know, bringing Alex Gray's art to into like the real world, and it was a very complicated process. And that was one of the interesting things, was sitting down with Adam, figuring out how do we actually get the project to work, how do we design everything, how do we build the team. Because, you know, we're doing that much CG, it's, you know, it's a lot of stuff, you know, and it's a very ambitious project to take on. So what we had to do is basically break down the project in a couple different phases. From first, it was the storyboards and character designs, trying to figure out who are what's the cast of characters. Then we had to start figuring out what was the flow of the video. How much was the X character, how much was the Spectres, how much of the video was going to be the Alex Gray part, and then the digital freakout scene. And then from there, we started cutting in Final Cut, started kind of, you know, bringing the project together editorially, while at the same time we were building all the 3D assets for all the characters and creatures. And then from there, we started also working with a concept designer who was helping work with Adam to figure out, like, what's the look of the video. Because that's one of the hard things on a project like this is since it's almost pure art, we don't, you know, we're starting with nothing. You know, you have absolutely nothing, and you're trying to make something out of it. So the question is, at what point do you stop? You know, because eventually you have to kind of aim the compass somewhere, and then say, like, this is the direction we want to go. This is where we need to be. And you know, that's one of the real challenges when you're doing a long art piece like this. Is, you know, trying to get everything focused, keeping it together. You know, figuring out where we need to be, and then, you know, starting to build that basically. You know, it's kind of like building a body. You first have to start with the bones, like, you know, what's the rough edit, what's the basic concept and timing. Then you got to start building in all the organs and everything, which would be kind of like the characters, the look of things. And then you have to kind of end with, you know, basically your skin, which is the final look. What's the color correction? How's the, you know, like all the 2D post-processing that we do to try to give the video a different type of style.
Adam wanted to call me a co-director on this film project, and I was very honored to that he thinks of it that way. I know the majority of the film is really Adam's direction here, but we did work together from, well, really a seminal part of getting the vicarious visuals and everything together. I'll never forget the times we spent together, just like, seemed like 24 hours a day working on little drawings and saying, hey, what do you think of this? You know, and then it's like, oh, that's cool, you know, and then and we were trying to resolve stuff about, well, how do we work with the bug, you know, and what does that look like? And so we were doing lots of drawings of that, and it was really amazingly fun to work together, and it was grueling. It was really exciting too. Adam was really introducing me to the process of doing the whole storyboard and how do you create something like this. It's a very kind of dream logic that I think Adam brings into his films. And he's a masterful designer of mood and of, you know, making the most bizarre and unsettling kinds of images appear natural. And so this is the visualization of the world that that X is finds himself in. To me, you know, it has resonance with a very apocalyptic kind of world, obviously. And so Adam didn't want everything to be totally obvious with this, and so it had to maintain its dream integrity. And I think that that's been a great benefit of this. It is another dimension. It is another world. It's a world of the imagination that has been woven so skillfully by so many artists, really. The folks at Hydraulics have been just incredible. And for us to be able to meld our views of reality and you know, creating this X character and all the elements that it would have was really exciting.
So I started originally working on the video at a very early stage when it was just you know, storyboards. Adam kind of came to me with these little thumbnail storyboards that he put together, these incredibly clear and meticulous illustrations of what he wanted, like what he visualized. And I basically, my responsibility was to come up with concepts that would kind of establish a visual look based off of what, you know, he visioned or what he had in mind. On top of the concept work, I'm also working on a matte painting for the end of the music video. It's basically a realistic representation of one of Alex Gray's paintings of, it's like kind of like a shot of the Earth from space looking down, and it shows this kind of eye inside the clouds. And there's kind of this, you know, swirling storm, kind of fits with the whole spiral motif.
I came into the process pretty much from the beginning because with a CG project like this, it always involves kind of editing something together before any of the work really gets, the main body of work gets done, which is planning, in the planning phase. In commercials, they call it an animatic, and typically they'll take storyboards, which have been around for years and years, and they do this for movies and videos too, to basically take the duration of the time that you know the program is going to be, which is the length of the song, and then time out all the storyboards to that length, and just to get kind of a basic idea of how it's going to feel and what sort of shots are going to work next to each other. And what are the moments that you have to hit in the song. It was interesting with this particular video because Adam Jones wanted specifically not to be too constrained to the rhythm and musical changes of the song. In fact, the first thing I did when I sat down with the song and started cutting the the storyboards was that I mapped out all of the beats, which is usually the first thing that I do when I'm cutting to music. Mapped out all the beats and all the major sections of the song, because I tend to cut very rhythmically and musically in anything that I do. And I showed Adam, so this is, I kind of made this floor plan. I dropped markers on the timeline wherever there's a beat, and he said, no, get rid of all that. That's we're not doing it like this. Just throw everything. Yeah, he specifically said, take everything you know about cutting a music video and throw it out, because we're going to cut this like a film first and foremost, and then we'll bring the music into it, but it has to work visually first, and then. There are a few points, there are a few key moments in the music that have to, have to coincide with the visuals. And he did me the great favor of lending me a booklet of DVDs of short films and things that he collected over the years, and said, just go home and watch all these, and this is what we're going for with the video. So I did, and some of them were really bizarre.
This Tool video, the reason it took so long is that people don't understand that 8 minutes of CG is actually a long, involved process. Because when you say like a whole full CG video, you basically have to build like everything that's there. Like in other music videos or movies and stuff like that, you get like at least some plates, like a guy that's like photographed, like a street or something like that. So that's half the work done. But here we'd have to build the background, the characters, and everything. So I guess from step 1 to 10, thank goodness Adam Jones had these great storyboards planned out, because that's like the first step. Planning all your shots, having all the compositions and whatnot. And you got to build the guys, so the Bug, X, Spectre, the Carbon Destructor, the environments, the mountains, the desert. Then you got to put some marionette rigs in them, so us animators can move the guys around. And then, of course, we got to animate it. And that's a whole process in itself, because sometimes the movement doesn't look right, and then Adam Jones has got to approve that. And then we go on to the next stage after that, which is we got our lighters and renderers who put the final look and final touches on how cool, the textures of X, and making sure all the layers of his ribs and his skin come through. And then the final stage is a 2D composition. Compositing actually, and then we get it's almost like a guy who's doing like a full collage. So he takes all our elements, the mountains, the elements of X, and the Carbon Destructor, putting the background, foreground, the clouds, all the minutia, and then putting it all together. So 30 seconds of this video would probably take probably a month or two. And you just combine that for a total of 8 minutes, and it just becomes a very long, involved process, and it involves a lot of people to collaborating with each other. So I think that's the majority of the bulk of where all the work goes for a full CG video.
We are a visual effects company. We primarily handle photorealistic effects for large or major motion pictures for the whole Hollywood game. But every once in a while we dip out and get to do kind of a fun artistic project. This is definitely one of those where it's not necessarily photorealistic, it's definitely a stylized looking video, but it's allowed us to just kind of jump back into more of our artistic roots as opposed to some more of our technical ones that we have to deal with currently with some of our current jobs. Which definitely has made it a lot more fun of a project, and also a little more challenging because as opposed to trying to recreate something that what it looks like, we're now trying to dip into someone's psyche and trying to pull out the artistic vision, which is at certain times very abstract but very particular. One of the hardest things about making this video is that some people might look at this thing when it's all done and go, there's just some random images, or these guys just made some cool random things and strung it together. But the thing about both Adam and Alex is that they have very particular needs for artistic wants for this video, and everything in here means something to them at a certain point. So we've had to stay on a very, very tight path artistically, and then we had to figure out on the back end, the technology, how to get it done. That was actually the easy part for this particular project. It's been, some of the parts have been very easy to understand because they're very corporeal and things we're kind of used to, and then some of them are very abstract in nature and really hard, kind of put onto film, because a lot of it are just thoughts, ideas, dreams, and that's what Alex Gray's famous for, is being able to take his dreams and put it on canvas, which is it's admirable and amazing at the same time, because most of us can't do that. So for a while in the project, one of the things I've been trying to do is just listen to them, and we would go and just bulldoze through some effects, just looking for any sort of comment. They love it, they hate it, just to kind of get the dialogue started. So I think after a little while, once we had enough conversation and we sat down and discussed where it is we want the video to go, we kind of, I guess finally a little light bulb went off in my head. And one of the main jobs I've had to do is had to translate that to the rest of the artists down here that aren't necessarily used to that kind of a circumstance. And it's still going. It's like every day it's like, that's close, but that's not exactly what I want. And yes, Adam and Alex are very particular, and that's fine. That's totally cool. They think they're being bothersome, but it's actually nice to have someone trying to push the art as opposed to just putting a product on shelf.
Main role as being the 3D coordinator is just try and keep track of the myriad of elements that have to be made for an 8.5-8-minute all CG music video. And the scope is pretty large. It's actually bigger than a lot of work individual facility would get for a blockbuster film. It's like 200 shots, quite a bit. So every little piece has to be kept track of who's on what, who's going to be doing what. Fair amount of work. My other role of being an effects artist is making dust. Most of the video takes place in the desert, and you have this very large character, I'll call it, called the Carbon Destructor. It's just a 3-tentacle creature grinding through the desert landscape, and something that large, everything it touches just explodes and just big pyroclastic dust. And that's basically what I've been creating for the video. So it's been quite a bit of work for myself and for a lot of other people here. It's very nice to see it all come together right now.
As animation supervisor, what I'm doing basically is just trying to make everything move as cool as possible. Anything that's got any motion at all in the video is kind of, had a particular way that it needed to look. And if I wasn't working on it myself, I had a team of animators that I was kind of overseeing and making sure that we were all kind of had the same idea about how this thing how everything in the video should move. As we went through the way that the main character is moving, X is moving through the video, we kind of we're trying to get this frailty and kind of stop motion-y feel through his movement, and just trying to figure that out, because typically when you're working with computer animation, everything is smooth and lovely and everything works in this very smooth way, and we're kind of going against what's normal work procedure and making this thing kind of tick, and he's got this like nervous kind of shaking. And in addition to that, we kind of wanted to add this layer of stop motion feel throughout the video, but at the same time kind of create a new thing that's both using the stop motion technique and kind of pairing it with the CGI stuff.
山田義也と言います、モデラーで、今回のビデオで、ほとんどのキャラクターを全部のキャラクターを、僕が作りました。マヤっていうソフトを使って、ベースのキャラクターを作って、G ブラシというソフトで、たくさんディテールをつけていきました。アダムとアレックスと一緒に、いろいろ考えながらデザインもしながらやっていったのがすごい楽しくて、とてもいい経験になりました。特に好きなのは、ネット・オブ・ビーイングという、アレックスがデザインした、絵を 3D に変えるという作業はとても、インタレスティングな作業でした。アダムが持ってくるデザインっていうのはすごい、独特の、デザインで、作ってて本当に楽しかったです。
Well, when I started to see the net of being appear in the Vicarious video, all the tests and various things that I was working with Yoshi to sculpt the head, that was not easy. You know, we spent days just working on getting the head right, and then the mapping of the textures and all the rest of that. But once we got a head that could then, that was like a piece of the grid, and you just like multiplied that head and you created the entire net. And that was really, you know, astonishing to see that it works, and that the kind of interconnectedness of this mesh of beings is really possible to visualize, and I can't wait to sculpt it. Well, the net of being, I think, is an outgrowth of a series of paintings that I've been working on that have this beings made out of a grid of fire and eyes, kind of universal beings, because they have these little cosmic windows inside where galaxies spiral. And it occurred to me on an ayahuasca journey down in Brazil, and which is basically a psychedelic tea, and I just saw infinitely interconnected meshwork of godheads, and it seemed like every other kind of being and thing was part of this network. And it was beautiful because the heads went right into the heads on the upper and lower levels. It was infinite expanse like this, and then it was an infinite expanse omnidirectionally. And because it's a network of kind of cosmic dust and consciousness, that's kind of my symbol of consciousness, is the eyes and the flames, then it's infinite consciousness that encompasses the entire cosmos. That was I think the symbol that it's pointing toward as a kind of reach for the mind. And so it still presented a huge challenge, you know, to visualize. And I spent like 5 months trying to get my pictures to have any reference point with the vision experience that I had. But it's come closer and closer to it, and I always imagine, you know, floating around inside of this space, because it was a actual dimension, and to be able to visualize it for Adam to have seen this, this world just like I did when he saw the drawing, and to then pull off this, computer animated world of the net of being is, I'm just really honored, and I'm incredibly happy that we can make this happen.
As a Tool fan, I think that this video is definitely, a step in a different direction, and that's what you expect with Tool. They're always pushing the limits. They're always stepping in different directions, and they're experimenting and pushing it in every which way. And it's all CG. It's a totally different thing. It's not stop motion. It's not live action, but I think that's what makes Tool what they are. They never limit themselves to anything specifically, and like every single time you see something new and something cool and exciting and mysterious and all together kind of like awe-inspiring.
Because Vicarious is such, to me, it's one of the toughest songs on 10,000 Days. I have to say it. When I heard it, it was like certainly one of the most beautiful, but also one of the most painful songs, because it really deals with something we don't necessarily want to face in ourselves, which is that culturally, we, just like the Roman civilization of old, watch the death spectacle and seem to be removed from it. The real position there, though, is that we're obviously not disconnected from it. We are not disconnected from the world dying. And the conceit of the words sort of plays with that, that you can witness the whole world dying as if it's not you too. And I think that the implications there, as every Tool work does, none of it's totally obvious. There's a lot of paradox and symbolism behind things, and so it winds up being deeply resonant, deeply disturbing. And I think that the videos never try to describe or work with the songs exactly, but there is, like I said, a dream logic that this, I believe, gets to the point of both the tragic loss of life on Earth and the powers of destruction and violence that everywhere surround us, the mesmerizing quality of the media, and this world of interconnectedness that lies behind the scenes as well. So I think it's an epic song. It's an amazing opportunity to have worked with Adam to try and visualize this, bring it to a level of vision that can be shared with the world.